I wasn't planning on releasing this video. I initially wrote it several months ago when I was thinking about tough times in my life. But as life goes, life gets better. And I didn't feel like the things I was focused on were as relevant anymore. But as it turns out, just as life gets better, life also gets worse. We go through different phases of ups and downs, that's just how it works. So I'm re-releasing this as a means to remind myself and give myself some much needed advice during harder times. If you're also feeling lost, I hope this can be of some help to you. Why do we feel lost? Why do we feel lost? We feel lost because we don't know where to go. Why do we not know where to go? Because either the road we are on doesn't feel like the right one, or we are at the fork in the road and can't decide. Why does it not feel like the right one? Because there is no right one to begin with. Whichever decision we make in life not only has positive upsides but also negative downsides. So why can't we decide? Because we are worried that the decision we make now is a decision for life and that once we make it, there's no going back. AKA, we're scared of the consequences. And why are we scared of the consequences? Because they're real. In other words, it's normal to be scared because it's normal to have consequences. And it's normal to feel lost in life because we can't predict the future and we can't always make the right choices. But here's the good news. If we understand this, then at least we can stop beating ourselves up for having difficulties dealing with these things. You see, being lost is a bug, not a feature. More on this later. These feelings you have right now are normal parts of the game of life. It's like falling off Rainbow Road in Mario Kart or something. That's just part of the game. So trying to fight or get rid of that feeling is trying to solve a problem that can't be solved. Meaning, if you want to stop feeling lost, you don't do it by getting rid of the feeling of being lost. You do it by dealing with what's causing that feeling to begin with. AKA, instead of being remiss that you can fall off the rainbow road of life, figure out how to not fall off in the first place. Now, I'm no therapist or psychologist or anything, this is just something I've learned from my experiences. If you keep trying, keep searching, eventually something will click. There is no right decision. One of the primary reasons why people feel lost is because they're trying to make the right decision. Chances are you are stuck in life because you have to make a decision that you feel is very important. It could be which college you want to go to, which career you're trying to pursue, or whether or not you want to quit your job. And right now you are suffering because you want to make the right choice, but you can't, because you don't know which to choose. And something to get clear on, extra clear on, is there is no right decision. It simply doesn't exist. Because we are not future predictors, we don't know the outcome of our choices, we can only guess. And sometimes you pick right, other times you pick wrong. And what you once thought might be a good decision can easily end up being a bad one. Just think about it for a second. Think about a time in your life when something went absolutely opposite to what you planned. And then think about a time when things went way better than you expected. Things happen as they happen. This means that instead of trying to predict the future and pick the perfect choice, we need to understand that there is no right decision. And the more time we spend worrying about making the right decision, the more suffering we experience. Plus, every decision you make will have unforeseen positives and negatives. There will be stuff you like about that new job that you didn't think you would like. There will also be stuff you hate about it that you didn't think you wouldn't like. Every decision has ups and downs. Take for example what I'm doing here with photography and YouTube. I chose this path because it was something I thought would ultimately be better for me in the long run. And there are tons of good things about it. The work is enjoyable, I'm getting better every day, and I'm building something I actually care about. But the downsides are clear as well. Income is rather difficult, I don't want to freelance too often because then I'm just building my own 9 to 5, and success is heavily dependent on how good you are. So both positives and negatives, right? Great, so now I get it, Andre. There is no perfect decision, there will always be positives and negatives, and we can't predict the future. But what do I actually do? Well, here's a practical way of dealing with feeling lost from an unmade decision. Pick the option that has downsides you can live with. Better yet, pick the path that has the downsides you want. Stuff that other people see as a problem, but you see as a good thing. Problems you would love to have. And also understand and take into account that there will always be things you didn't expect. So just use your best bad guess, make a choice, and live with the outcomes. If it's a reversible decision, don't waste extra time thinking about it. If it's irreversible or difficult to reverse, like moving somewhere far or getting married, spend some more time thinking. Sleep on it. Make the decision when you've had a full stomach and aren't rushed or pressured to decide. And if all else fails, flip a coin. Because that's all we do in life anyways. We flip a coin and we see how it turns out. I'm not even joking about the coin thing, I learned it from a friend and it served me very well. The coin tells you what to do, and if you aren't happy with the outcome, at least now you know. Moving on. Eliminate options. Over the course of our lives, we get good at learning what we like and what we want. This is actually a problem. Because in this near infinite world, there are an infinite amount of things we could be doing. We could follow the standard route of the 9 to 5. We could travel and go see the world. We could go live in a different country. We could get into photography and start making stuff with it. And there are endless amounts of hobbies and things to get into. So chances are, if you are a living human being, there is more than one thing you like. You probably have more than one food you like. You probably have more than one book you like. And when we have an infinite amount of options and things to get into, this can actually paralyze us. It can make us feel uncertain about our choices and what we are doing because, like we mentioned earlier, we are trying to make the right choice. But as we also learned earlier, there is no right decision. So what does this mean? This means to deal with the infinite options of life, you need to train one skill in particular. And that is the skill of eliminating options. You need to get good at eliminating the less desired stuff for the more desired stuff. Because you can't have it all. And trying to have it all might be giving you that lost feeling to begin with. On the contrary, if you just learn to cross stuff off, you'll get this overwhelming feeling of relief. You'll be more relaxed and feel better about your choices because instead of trying to decide between 50 things, you're only deciding between 3. Think about it from this example. The next time you go to a fast food restaurant, pay attention to the menu. Notice how many options there are, and observe how long you spend picking, choosing, deciding between options. For most people, it's easier to decide when there's less choices. So restaurants, bars, and coffee shops that have a simpler, smaller menu have an easier decision process. And this serves both the customer and the business better. The less options, the easier the decision. So if you're having trouble making a decision, first start by eliminating. Get rid of as many options as you can until the decision is easy to make. Meaning, get out a piece of paper and write down every option you're worried about, and then just cross stuff off. This doesn't matter, I don't really care about this, I could live without this one, etc. Do this until you've narrowed the list down to about 2 to 3 things and you'll be in a better position to make a choice. And this practice will allow us to discover what we actually care about. It helps us separate our greatest desires from our loose desires. And try not to put too much weight on the decision you're making. It's not going to kill you, it's just one decision. And if it does kill you, you'll be dead so you won't have to worry about this anymore. Aim lower. If we've learned anything so far, it's that a lot of this lost feeling comes from inaction. It comes from being stuck in a place and not being able to move. And that barrier that's presented in front of us could be because of the fork in the road or something else. So a lot of the tips so far have been to help you overcome this barrier so you can start moving. Because when we're moving and making progress in life, we're not feeling lost. However, we don't just have to overcome this barrier. Another thing we can do to get moving is actually lower this barrier or make it smaller. And then action will be easier to take because instead of climbing a mountain, it's just a small hill. Does that make sense? So what we can do to lower this barrier is to actually aim low. Aim stupid low. Instead of setting a high goal of what you want to do, where you want to go, what you want to achieve in life, set a small goal. Today, my only goal in life is to make my bed, or brush my teeth, or go on a walk, or reach out to a friend. Whatever it might be, make a goal so small you know you can do it. And then do it. Don't worry about whether or not it'll make sense or add up in the long run. It will, but don't worry about it. Just start small. And if you're the type of person who likes to aim big, has big dreams, highly ambitious, etc., understand that that's part of the problem in the first place. It's okay to dream big. I'm not against dreaming big or wanting to do big things with your small life, but that's what's causing your suffering in the first place. Because when you have big goals, it's hard to take action. It's hard to take that first step because your desired destination is so far away that what's the point? And you easily forget that big things are accomplished small steps at a time. So this small goal you have right now isn't forever. It's just a tiny thing to get us moving in the right direction. And then once we built up a bit of momentum, we can start aiming higher, which will eventually get us closer and closer to the mountaintop. Make sense? I'll give you guys a real example of how I applied this to my life. About a year ago, I wanted to get this channel up and running again. I had taken a break from consistent YouTube to really get my life in order and figure out how I wanted to approach this thing again. And when I restarted this whole process, I didn't try to make 50 YouTube videos at once. I just focused on one at a time. And actually, I intentionally tried to do a bad job. I set the bar really low on the effort I put in, sat in front of the camera, and just talked. I did the absolute bare minimum. I let myself make a crappy video to just get started. And then the next week, I did the same thing. And the next week, I did the same thing. And then things steamrolled from there. I began experimenting with short form. I started writing scripts out to make this overall presentation clearer for you guys. And I upgraded my mic because I'd been using the same crappy one for years. And fast forward to now, I'm writing every day, making a video every week, putting out short form, and working on bigger photography projects. All of that came from one day. One where I decided to set the bar stupid low and just get started. And I built momentum from there. So don't underestimate what completing a tiny task today can do for you. It could really be that thing that sets off a big chain of action and change in your life. And remember, Big goals can paralyze us, small goals can get us moving. You don't have to have it all figured out. I think that what causes a lot of stress in life, especially if you're on the younger end, is this idea that you have to have it all figured out. That by a certain age, life is supposed to make sense. That at a particular time, we're supposed to finish school, get a job, make a bunch of money, have kids, and we're gonna have it all figured out. And the reality of the situation is, no one has it all figured out. Your parents don't have it all figured out, your grandparents didn't have it all figured out. And the friends that you might be comparing yourself to that are more successful than you don't have it all figured out either. So this notion of getting to some place where life is supposed to make sense and then we can start living is an illusion. It's a fantasy created by either society, our own ideals, or some hope we give ourselves to keep going. And I've realized that by trying to figure out more things in an attempt to have it all figured out is futile. Now, I don't say this in a pessimistic or nihilistic way to get you to stop trying. Rather, I'm personally fairly optimistic about this. You see, when you've accepted the idea that we'll never have it all figured out, you can actually start living. We don't have to get all the things in place to start the thing we wanted to start. We can start with what we have now. We don't have to wait to get to a certain age to start living. We can live now. And we don't have to worry about whether we're on the right track or how much progress we're making or how fast we're going, because it doesn't matter. Life is not a race and we're not trying to get to the finish line first. Because remember, what's actually at the finish line? Hint. It's death. So why rush ourselves to the end? All this is to say, if you feel like you're falling behind, there's so much stuff to catch up on, and you're not where you're supposed to be, chill. It's perfectly normal to feel this way, and it's just our mind trying to aggravate us because it's a built-in survival mechanism. It thinks that if it doesn't do all this stuff, we're gonna fall behind, miss out on life, and die. And don't get angry at your mind for feeling this way, that's its job, that's what it's supposed to do. But if you can take the time to remind yourself, I don't have to have it all figured out, you can give yourself that small bit of permission to take that imperfect action to do the things you want to do. Make sense? It's not a bug, it's a feature. Time and time again, I find myself coming back to this idea, and it's something I need to constantly remind myself to keep myself grounded. It's not a bug, it's a feature. What does that mean? Well, we talked about Mario Kart earlier, so we'll use this analogy again. Imagine you're playing Mario Kart and you drive off the ledge and die. You might be shocked or surprised the first time, but the next time you'll try and stay on the curves. And sometimes you'll fall, but other times you won't. But you're not going to get mad at the game developers for having a place to fall off in the first place, because you understand that's just part of the game. Another analogy. Poker. When you're dealt a hand in poker, assuming no one's cheating, you don't complain about the hand. Because if you play long enough, odds are you will get a bad hand. Sometimes you'll get a good one, sometimes you'll get a bad one. And when you do get a bad one, you just gotta do the best you can with that hand. The same thing applies to any and everything in life. Maybe you weren't born rich, but you gotta work with what you have. Maybe you were born ugly, but you gotta work with what you have. This is just part of the game of life. So feeling lost as well is not a bug, it's a feature. It's part of the game, it's supposed to happen, you're supposed to feel lost. These are normal feelings for a human being living in the 21st century. And this is important to reiterate over and over again because many people try to fight the game. They think if they're feeling lost or unhappy, something's wrong. And if something's wrong, they must be doing something wrong, or worse, they're a victim of circumstance, and they start blaming others and not taking responsibility for their lives. But when you realize this is just part of the game, you can relax a little bit. You can tell yourself, oh, what I'm feeling right now is perfectly normal. Actually, given my current circumstances, it'd be weird if I wasn't feeling like this, right? And then you can take an objective view of your current situation and view it less emotionally. We are no longer beating ourselves up for feeling a certain type of way. We have given ourselves permission to feel bad, which ironically makes things a lot better. Because we are no longer feeling bad about feeling bad, which means we can have more fun with it and treat life like the game it is. So anytime anything bad happens to you, remind yourself, it's not a bug, it's a feature. And then get up, do something about it, change your circumstances, if you want to change them of course, and don't fall off the ledge next time. Understanding that is the first step. I don't know you, I don't know your life, but whatever situation you're in, it's not a bug, it's a feature. These are the cards you were dealt, this is the hand you have. It might not be a good hand, it might not be the best hand, but the best you can do is play it as best as you can. So let's wrap this up to make it make sense for you. If you're feeling lost in life right now, I feel for you. Because from time to time, I myself feel lost. And it sucks. It's not fun to be in a place where we don't know where we're going and we're anxious and worried about our lives. But thankfully, there are a few things we can do to help us get through this. First, understand that feeling lost is normal. We're lost because we're scared of the consequences of making the wrong choice. Second, Realize there is no right decision. Whatever choice you make in life will have upsides and downsides, and trying to make the perfect choice is preventing you from making a choice in the first place. But the sooner you realize this, the sooner you can make a decision and get on with your life. Third, a practical tip for making that decision: eliminate options. You may feel paralyzed because you have too many options. It could be what you want to do with your life or what you want to eat today. But understand that the more options you have, the harder the decision. So start by crossing things off and it'll make your life much easier. Fourth, aim lower. Sometimes we set the bar too high because that's what we do. But if your goal is too big, it can feel impossible to take the first step. So what we have to do is set the bar super low and build from there. Start with one tiny task and just move it a little bit in the right direction. It'll pay off later. Fifth, you don't have to have it all figured out. Your parents certainly don't, your grandparents definitely didn't, and you for sure won't. So stop trying to figure everything out and just live life. Sixth, it's not a bug, it's a feature. Meaning your circumstances, bad things that happen to you, and failures are all normal. There are things that are supposed to happen in this game of life we play. And the sooner you can accept these things, the less emotional we can be about our current circumstances and the more optimistic we can be. Falling off Rainbow Road is the point. Getting a bad hand in poker is the point. Feeling lost in life is the point. Don't try to change life. Just play the game. Anyways, I hope maybe one of these 6 points have helped you. I hope that if you're currently feeling lost, you get unlost soon and that things get better. And if you like photo books, check out my latest photo book, The Sinking Sun. You can get a free 4x6 print while you're at it. Thanks for watching as always. Have a great day. I'll see you guys later. Peace.